The Madness of King Trump, exploring recent events, behaviors, controversies, and political maneuvers surrounding Donald Trump. It will analyze his actions in 2024 to 2025, legal troubles, rhetoric, campaign strategies, media impact, and how his influence still dominates U.S. politics. Introduction. Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States, left office in January 2021, but in many ways, he never left the stage. From continued rallies to social media storms, from courtrooms to campaign trails, Trump has remained an ever-present figure in American politics. As the 2024 presidential election unfolded and its aftermath took shape in 2025, Trump's behavior, rhetoric, and actions have sparked renewed concerns about the fragility of American democracy. This piece investigates the most recent developments around Donald Trump, from his legal woes and polarizing campaign trail antics to his unwavering grip over the Republican Party and his influence over millions of Americans. The phrase, "the madness of King Trump," has emerged in public discourse not just as a nod to historical parallels but as a genuine expression of concern about the trajectory of American leadership and political culture. Chapter 1, The Legal Tempest. 1.1 Indictments and Courtroom Dramas. By early 2025, Trump faced an unprecedented legal onslaught. At the core were multiple criminal indictments. Federal charges stemming from his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results, including involvement in the January 6 Capitol riot. Classified documents case, in which Trump was accused of illegally retaining sensitive government documents at Mar-a-Lago and obstructing efforts to retrieve them. Georgia election interference case, where Trump was recorded pressuring Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes. Civil cases like the E. Jean Carroll defamation case, in which a jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation, awarding millions in damages. Trump pleaded not guilty in all criminal cases and continued to frame the trials as politically motivated witch hunts. Nevertheless, these trials consumed his time, dominated headlines, and added a chaotic undercurrent to the 2024 campaign season. 1.2 I Am Your Retribution. One of the most troubling elements of Trump's post-presidency rhetoric is the promise of retribution. At CPAC 2024, Trump declared, "I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution." Such statements, echoing authoritarian overtones, galvanized his base but alarmed legal scholars and democracy advocates. Trump's framing of the legal system as a political weapon turned law and order into a tribal battlefield. Chapter 2, The 2024 Election and Aftermath. 2.1 A fractured Republican primary. Despite facing criminal charges, Trump bulldozed through the Republican primary. Rivals like Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy challenged him but failed to make a lasting impact. Trump's cult of personality remained unrivaled within the GOP, and by early 2024, he was the presumptive nominee. Debates often devolved into loyalty contests, and rather than policy, candidates debated who was more America first. The Republican National Committee, increasingly Trump-aligned, changed rules and norms to benefit him. 2.2 Biden versus Trump, Round 2. The 2024 general election was a rematch between Trump and Joe Biden. Despite Biden's age and approval challenges, he carried the message of stability and democracy. Trump's campaign focused on vengeance, border security, inflation, and crime, punctuated by relentless attacks on the deep state and mainstream media. Misinformation and voter intimidation marked several battleground states, as did aggressive legal challenges filed by Trump allies. Nevertheless, Biden narrowly won re-election. 2.3 Election Denial 2.0. Trump once again refused to concede, citing unproven voter fraud and declaring the election rigged. While his legal team filed dozens of lawsuits, most were dismissed due to lack of evidence. His followers, including many elected officials, echoed his claims. Social media saw a resurgence of conspiracy theories, some even more outlandish than in 2020. Right-wing influencers rallied under the hashtag #StopTheSteal2024, and protests erupted in states like Arizona and Georgia. Though violence on the scale of January 6 did not occur, intelligence agencies remained on high alert due to increased threats to election officials and judges. Chapter 3: Trump Media Empire and Truth Social. After being banned from Twitter, now X, and Facebook, Trump launched Truth Social in 2022. By 2025, it had become a full-blown echo chamber of Trumpist ideology, unregulated conspiracy theories, and aggressive political rhetoric. Trump used the platform to attack judges, prosecutors, and witnesses in his legal trials, float conspiracies about COVID-19, Ukraine, and immigration, post doctored videos and memes of political opponents, promote merchandise and rally attendance. Despite its limited audience compared to X or Facebook, Truth Social shaped the news cycle, especially when mainstream outlets quoted his posts. Chapter 4: The Cult of Personality and GOP Transformation. 4.1 The Party of Trump. By 2025, the Republican Party had fully transformed into a vehicle for Trump's personal ambitions. Those who criticized him, like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, and Mitt Romney, were pushed to the fringes or retired. Trump loyalists dominated state legislatures and local party structures. Primary challenges were often decided based on fealty to Trump rather than policy or competence. 4.2 Christian nationalism and authoritarian themes. Trump's rhetoric increasingly embraced themes of Christian nationalism, presenting himself as a messianic figure. At rallies, pastors prayed over him. Some supporters wore shirts that read, "Jesus is my savior, Trump is my president." He also invoked martial metaphors, warning of a battle for the soul of America. In several speeches, he flirted with the idea of mass deportations, military tribunals, and revoking birthright citizenship, proposals that tested the limits of constitutional democracy. Chapter 5: The Global Stage. 5.1 Allies and Enemies. Trump continued to praise autocrats like Vladimir Putin and Viktor Orban, while belittling U.S. allies and NATO. He questioned funding for Ukraine, calling President Zelensky ungrateful, and suggesting that the U.S. should let Russia take what it wants if Europe didn't pay up. This rhetoric fueled geopolitical anxiety. Intelligence analysts warned that a second Trump presidency could unravel international norms established after World War II. 5.2 America's reputation. Trump's resurgence created diplomatic friction. Several foreign leaders privately expressed concern about working with a potential second-term Trump, given his erratic behavior and disregard for multilateralism. Chapter 6: Psychological Profile and Public Perception. 6.1 Narcissism and Paranoia. Mental health professionals, bound by the Goldwater rule, often avoid diagnosing public figures. But many have noted Trump's behavior exhibits classic signs of narcissistic personality disorder, paranoia, and delusional thinking. His need for adulation, unwillingness to accept defeat, obsession with enemies, and inability to handle criticism contribute to what many view as a psychological crisis at the top of American politics. 6.2 The Media Feedback Loop. Trump's madness is both amplified and enabled by media. Right-wing outlets like Newsmax and OANN provide an uncritical platform, while mainstream media endlessly cover his antics, making him the center of gravity, regardless of their intentions. Some critics argue that this obsession with Trump, even in opposition, helps sustain his power. Chapter 7: What Comes Next. As of April 2025, Donald Trump remains a free man, but his legal future is uncertain. Sentencing in some trials is pending, and appeals could drag on for years. Yet, even under indictment, or potentially even incarceration, Trump's grip on his followers shows no sign of loosening. Several outcomes are now possible. Trump could be convicted and yet still run for office, exploiting legal gray areas. A GOP splinter movement could emerge, though unlikely in the short term. A constitutional crisis could erupt if Trump wins while under criminal judgment or probation. A democratic backslide could accelerate if Trumpists gain further institutional power. Chapter 8, Institutions Under Siege. 8.1 The erosion of democratic norms. One of the most alarming outcomes of Trump's influence has been the erosion of democratic norms. Under his leadership, and in his post-presidency resurgence, long-standing practices of governance, transparency, and accountability have been undermined. Key examples include ignoring subpoenas and flouting oversight from congressional committees, weaponizing pardons and clemency to reward loyalists and silence critics, undermining the Justice Department's independence by pressuring officials for political favors, dismissing intelligence briefings that didn't suit his narrative, including Russian election interference. Trump's attacks on institutions extended to the military, where he reportedly discussed invoking the Insurrection Act to suppress protests, and the Department of Justice, which he pressured to just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. 8.2 The judiciary in the crosshairs. As Trump's legal troubles mounted, he lashed out directly at judges. He referred to judges as corrupt, Obama appointees, or even Democrat operatives. He frequently posted about them on Truth Social, naming them and insinuating bias. In response, federal judges received heightened security, and some faced death threats. This targeting of the judiciary has had a chilling effect, not just on the legal system, but also on public faith in impartial justice. Chapter 9, Trumpism without Trump. 9.1 The rise of the mini-Trumps. Even if Donald Trump himself fades from the spotlight due to age, legal issues, or health, Trumpism is now embedded in the DNA of American conservatism. Figures like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and Kari Lake have adopted his tactics: inflammatory rhetoric, conspiracy-laden narratives, media spectacle, and constant attacks on the deep state. In the 2024 congressional elections, many Trump-style candidates were elected to local and national offices. They eschew compromise and openly disdain democratic process, turning politics into a zero-sum culture war. 9.2 The death of conservatism. Traditional conservative principles, limited government, free markets, family values, international alliances, have largely been replaced by populist nationalism, identity politics, and authoritarian tendencies. Think tanks like the Heritage Foundation have shifted to accommodate Trumpist policy, and formerly cautious media outlets have embraced more extreme ideologies. This ideological transformation poses a dilemma for center-right voters: support Trumpism or become politically homeless. Chapter 10, The Cult of Chaos. 10.1 Manufactured crises and permanent outrage. A defining trait of Trump's leadership is governing through chaos. Each day brings a new controversy, a tweet, a trial, a rally, a conspiracy theory. The result is a state of perpetual outrage, which both distracts and energizes. This environment creates voter fatigue, where apathy sets in among moderates. Radicalization, where fringe ideas become mainstream. Desensitization, where behavior once considered unacceptable is normalized. 10.2 Loyalty over competence. In Trump's orbit, loyalty eclipses everything else: expertise, experience, even basic competence. Staff turnover during his presidency was the highest in modern history, and his post-presidency has shown the same trend. Allies who show dissent, even mild, are often excommunicated. Conversely, disgraced figures are rehabilitated so long as they pledge allegiance. Think Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, or Steve Bannon. This dynamic has transformed American political culture into a loyalty test, not to the Constitution, but to a man. Chapter 11, America at a Crossroads. 11.1 The danger of normalization. Perhaps the greatest risk is normalization, the slow, steady acclimatization to Trump's behavior. As institutions fail to check him, and as voters accept his claims at face value, dangerous precedents are set. If a president can ignore subpoenas, why not the next? If a losing candidate can delegitimize an election, why hold elections at all? If inciting violence goes unpunished, what stops future leaders from doing worse? This creeping normalization has been compared to boiling frog syndrome, the slow decay of democratic safeguards without the public realizing the heat is rising. 11.2 Civic responsibility and media literacy. Trump's success is partly a reflection of America's civic literacy crisis. Many voters lack basic knowledge of government structures, legal standards, or historical context. Misinformation spreads rapidly, with millions unable, or unwilling, to distinguish fact from fiction. Social media algorithms prioritize engagement over truth, creating echo chambers that further radicalize. A renewed investment in civic education, media literacy, and local journalism is essential if the nation is to rebuild trust and withstand future demagogues. Chapter 12, Historical Parallels and Warnings. 12.1 Echoes of Authoritarianism. Political scientists have compared Trump's rise to that of authoritarian figures in history, from Mussolini to Chavez. Hallmarks include strongman posturing, vilifying opponents and minorities, undermining independent institutions, demanding personal loyalty over legal obligation. While America's constitutional system provides more guardrails than many past examples, no system is invincible when public apathy meets authoritarian ambition. 12.2 Democracy in decline. International democracy watchdogs like Freedom House and the Economist Intelligence Unit have downgraded the U.S. in their democracy indexes. Indicators such as election confidence, press freedom, judicial independence, and civil discourse have all declined since 2016. The Trump era has turned the United States into a cautionary tale, a reminder that even long-standing democracies are fragile if civic norms are abandoned. Final thoughts, a test for the ages. History will debate Donald Trump's intentions, whether he is truly unhinged, cunningly authoritarian, or merely a showman exploiting a broken system. What is beyond debate is the damage done. America stands at a historical inflection point. The madness of King Trump is not just about one man, but about a society willing to follow him despite, or because of, his chaos. The future depends on the resilience of democratic institutions, the courage of political leaders, the vigilance of the press, and the participation of an informed public. Whether the country recovers or descends further will determine not only the fate of the republic but its moral standing in the world. Conclusion: the legacy of the madness. The madness of King Trump is not a one-man show. It's a symptom of deep-rooted dysfunctions in American political culture, hyperpartisanship, disinformation, institutional decay, and a public hungry for spectacle over substance. Whether Trump fades or rises again, the forces he unleashed will shape American democracy for decades to come. The real question is not just about Trump's madness, but whether the nation has the courage and clarity to heal from it.